Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about prepositions that we use in common present perfect tense sentences. I'm going to talk about 4 prepositions and how we commonly use them. Let's get started. Okay, first I want to practice a few examples with the preposition to. So we use to, one of the uses of to is to express motion or to refer to some motion happening. So we use to in present perfect tense expressions when we're talking about traveling or we're talking about movement from one place to another. So these are a few common verbs that we use to with. Of course, for today's lesson, I'm focusing on present perfect tense, but of course you can use these verbs in other tenses with this preposition to. So some very common examples are, I have been to place, or I have traveled to place, I have driven to place. So for this lesson, these are all the past participle forms of the verbs, but again, you can use, for example, past tense or a future tense expression as well. Another key point is when you use the preposition to, you need to use a specific place name. For example, I've been to China, or I've traveled to France, or I've driven to school. So we're using a specific place name here. A common error, a common mistake that I hear among learners is that people will use the word there here, like I have been to there. That's incorrect. We need to use a specific place name here. We can't use there and a preposition. If you want to say there, just remove the preposition. I've been there. Oh, I've traveled there. I've driven there. And then it's perfect. So again, to plus a specific place or there with no preposition. Another situation where you'll use to is when you're talking about movement of like objects as well. So in this case, digital objects. We can imagine files as digital objects. For example, he has sent the files to the clients. So here again with this to, we're talking about some movement. In the first example, it was movement of people, like an actual body or bodies moving from place to place. In this example, we're talking about data or we're talking about objects moving from place to place. So with a verb like maybe send, in this case sent, the past participle form, we use to talk about that. So the item or items in this case that is moving and the direction here. So we're marking this destination and we're showing the movement, the relationship here with to. So we use to express motion, to talk about movement. And we use to before the destination, the place where we're going, or in this case, the person receiving something. Okay, so now let's go to at. The second part I want to talk about is at. We use at to mark the location of something, the place where an action occurs, the place where something happens. So there are many different verbs that we can use with at, and similar to, we follow at with a specific location. So again, we don't say at there. We can't use that pattern. We need to use at plus a specific place name or like a city name, country name, and so on. So some examples of verbs you might use are study or see or stay. So these are verbs that aren't relating like to movement. We're not moving from one place to another, and objects aren't moving from one place to another place. Rather, these verbs are talking about actions where like we as people remain in place, or as objects, the object remains in place. There's not movement really. So when we want to express that, we put the verb in this case past participle form, and then we follow that, or we follow the verb phrase with at and connect it to the place. So for example, I have studied at ABC College. I have studied at ABC College. So I cannot use to here. I have studied to ABC College is incorrect because this verb is not indicating motion in some way. It's study. So study is the action, and we're talking about the place where the action happened. So there's not, like, we're not reporting on movement or motion of any kind. Another example, we haven't seen a basketball game at the city arena. We haven't seen a basketball game at the city arena. So again, at is marking this specific location where an activity, seeing a basketball game, happens, or in this case, has not happened. So the speaker is saying, we have not had the experience of watching or seeing a basketball game at this arena. So we're marking the location with at. My verb is see here. Again, we're not talking about motion or movement. We're talking about staying in one place and doing something in that location. One more example, she has stayed at that hotel. She has stayed at that hotel. So my verb is stay. The past participle form is stayed. And I'm talking about that hotel, specifically that hotel. So yes, I'm using that, that's fine. In a conversation, I might say something, or the first person in this conversation might say something like, oh, hey, does she know that hotel, or has she heard of that hotel? And the follow-up might be, yeah, she has stayed at that hotel. So a specific hotel here. Again, this is the action, staying. Staying is the action. We mark it with at. So we cannot use to here. She has stayed to that hotel is incorrect because to marks motion. Stay is not a motion, it is not a movement. We're doing it in place, in this location. So please be careful when you're choosing between at and to for these kinds of expressions. Yes, we can use both prepositions before a specific place, but they have different functions. So at marks our location for something, to is marking our motion and movement towards a location. Okay, so let's go on to the second part of this lesson. For the second part, I want to talk about for and since, very, very commonly used with present perfect tense. First, we use for to mark time periods. So a length of time. We use for to mark this. For example, he has worked here for 2 years. He has worked here for 2 years. So the activity is working. In this case, he has worked here. And we're marking this time period, years, with for. So for shows us the length of time that something happened. So this sentence means he's still working here. Like this is an ongoing activity. This is still happening. And we want to mention how long the activity has happened. Another example. She has been sleeping for 10 hours. She has been sleeping for 10 hours. So yes, this is an example that's in the present perfect progressive form. That's fine. You can use the same rules with present perfect progressive. Again, we're marking a time period with for. You'll notice too that these are all in the plural form. So make sure it's not 2 year or for 10 hour, whatever. We need to make sure to pronounce clearly and right in writing this S here to make the plural form. So this is marking a time period, a length of time. One more example, we have been dating for 6 months. We have been dating for 6 months. So that means 6 months ago, we started dating, and since that time, I'll talk about since in just a moment, for that time period until this conversation, the dating has continued. So they have been in a relationship. So we use for to mark this kind of time. So we cannot use to, we cannot use at here. So we don't use to because we're not showing motion of some kind. He has worked here 2 years is incorrect. We cannot use at because we're not sharing some location of an activity. The focus here is on a period of time. So let's compare this to since. We use since as a preposition to mark a past point in time, to mark a past point in time. So this is a key difference with for. For marks a period of time. Since marks a past point only. So we're not marking like a duration, we're not marking a length of time. Since tells us when something started or maybe the last time something happened, depending on the sentence. So let's look at some examples. I've lived here since 2013. I've lived here since 2013. So since marks our past point in time, 2013. So that means beginning in 2013 and continuing until this conversation, I've lived here. I've lived here. So since tells us when it started in this case. Here though, let's look at a negative. We haven't seen you since high school. We haven't seen you since high school. So since comes before high school here. Now, high school is not like a point in time, like a year or a month or a day. No, but it marks a point like in life, high school. So we can understand high school is our point in the past here. And the action, we haven't seen you. So that means from high school until this conversation, the speakers did not see the listener in this period of time. So high school is the starting point, the conversation is the ending point, and they want to express in this period, they did not meet, they did not see each other. One more example, she hasn't come to work since Monday. She hasn't come to work since Monday. So here, our specific past point is Monday. Since tells us that. And she hasn't come to work. So starting at this point in the past, starting at Monday, this person, she has not come to work. So until this conversation, so no appearance by this person. So since is marking some past point in time, for is marking a period of time, a duration of time. So we can't use these interchangeably. We can't switch them up. Also, we cannot use to or at in these cases either. No location is being given. Like yes, a high school is a location, but here we're talking about a period of life that is high school, a time period of life. So we can't use at, we can't use to here. So I hope that this is helpful in choosing between for and since, and I hope this is helpful in choosing between to and at. Of course, we can use other prepositions as well, but these are some very common ones, and I think good ones for learners to practice. So I hope that it was helpful for you. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to practice making example sentences, or if you want to talk about some other prepositions, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Also, please don't forget to like the video and make sure to check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more stuff to help you with your English studies, and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.